What's up, guys? Welcome to the second video of developing your own medical software application using Visual Basic 6.0 and Microsoft Access database. So I'd like to apologize ahead of time. I'm a little sick, so you're going to kind of have to bear with me on this one. And I'm going to do my best to get through this tutorial. So in this tutorial, we're actually going to go through the process of creating and managing our database that our program will use in order to store all of its information. So any patient information, billing, appointments, inventory, whatever our program uses, this is where it's going to be stored in this database. So before we actually go ahead and create this database, we need to create a folder where our project, which is our medical software that we're developing, will be saved. So any icons, any the database, any Visual Basic forms or codes, they will all be saved in this folder that we're going to create. So to create this folder, just go to your desktop, right click, click new, and then click folder, new folder. And you can call this folder whatever you'd like. It's personal preference, but for our sake, we're gonna call it clinic software. And there you go. So anything that has to do with your project on developing this software application will be saved in here and in subfolders. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna open this folder and we're gonna create another folder which will be a subfolder. So do the same thing, new, and then click folder. And for this one, we're going to call it data or database, whatever you'd like. And as you guessed it, or you probably know, our database will probably most likely be stored in this folder right here. So close this, and there you go. So there's our programs folder. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move ahead and we're going to create our database. So the first thing you want to do is you want to locate Microsoft Access on your computer and open it up. Alright. Now, once you have it open, I just want to remind you that I'm using versions 2007. Feel free to use whatever version you're most comfortable with. There's no point of beating around the bend trying to learn how to use a whole new version if you're already comfortable with another. So just stick with the one that you're most comfortable with and you should be fine. So we're going to go ahead and create our database. So go to the office button here in top left and create new, or click new, and our blank database screen will appear on the right. Here, this is where we're going to name our database. I recommend you naming your database something that is easy to remember, because when it comes to programming, if you name it something complicated, you're going to have to go back and check how you exactly spelt it or whatever it was called. Just keep it simple, something that you'll remember. So we're going to call it system data. Since you've typed that, here's the pathway where it's going to save, but I don't like this pathway, so we're going to change it. So remember that database subfolder we created just a little while back? That's where I want to save my database, and that's probably where you want to save your database too. So go here and select the path. Now remember we created it in the desktop, or on the desktop, and here's the folder, and there's the database folder. Now before I select this path, I'm going to change my save as type to a Microsoft Office Access Databases 2000 format. Now this is just a personal preference. I recommend you doing this as well. But if you don't have this option, feel free to save it to whatever you'd like. So click OK. Now before we create this database, I want to make sure that I get this this message to you that you want to make sure that the file format of your database is .mdb. The reason for this is because when we go and program in Visual Basic 6.0, if it's not .mdb for our purposes, it may alter the way you're going to need to program a little bit. So we'll do this for now. We'll keep it as .mdb. So let's create it. And there you go. We just created a database. So as you can see, we have our database which created one table so far, and it's called table 1. But table 1 isn't really a good name for our program. It has nothing to do with our program, so we're gonna make it a little bit more relevant. So let's go to here, and we're gonna right click, and we're gonna click design view. Then it's gonna ask you what you would like to save your table as. So you're gonna change the name to, the first thing that we're gonna create is our patient's screen. So the best thing to do is save it as patients. Click OK or press enter, and there you go. It changes the name or the table to patients. Now this table will specifically save any patient information such as first name, last name, email, date of birth, address, gender, anything like that will be saved in this table. Now what we're going to do is we're actually going to create the individual fields for the patient information. So let's just actually undo this first, the primary key. Let's unclick that, and we're going to change the first field to number, and we're going to change the data type to number as well. Now this field is very important to have, because what's going to happen is when we start to program, the application that we're going to develop is going to identify each patient by a specific number. Also, by having this set to number is very important as well, because if you change this to text or memo, which you can, it will alter the way you're going to need to code later on in Visual Basic. There's going to be a few things that you would have to change. So therefore, our purposes, we're just going to keep it simple and keep it as a number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video for a second, and I'm going to create the rest of the fields, and then I'm going to show you guys what to do next. Alright, so I finished creating all my fields. So we have our patient number, which is the most important field. We have first name, last name, address, city, province, postal code, phone, number, mobile number, email, date of birth, and gender. Feel free to add as many as you would like, but just to keep it simple, we're going to add these basic ones. Also, for your data type, remember what I said. It's important to what you put these, or you set these fields as. So for all these fields, to make it easy on yourself, set them all to text, except for obviously the first one, which we said previously. We'll set that to number. Okay, so set all these to text. And you can change the options down here if you'd like. Just be aware of what you're changing, because again, it can alter the way that you'll need to code in Visual Basic. So once you have all your fields set, let's go to the Office button again, click Save, and your table and your database should be saved. So therefore we can close this, and we'll come back and create more tables as we go along. But just for this tutorial, I just want to give you guys an idea on how to create your tables, how to create your database, so that you're not confused halfway through. So let's just close Access or MS Access for now. And let's go back to our desktop and double check to make sure to check if it saved successfully. It's always important to double check everything. So there we go, we have it. Let's open it up, see if it saved successfully. Just get rid of this warning. Let's enable this content. Okay, so there's our table. We open it up, and here we can see all of our fields in a grid. Okay, and this grid will be used if you actually manually want to change a specific piece of information after patients have been entered into the database. So let's go to design view, check again, just double check again. And there you go. It's all there. Let's close that. Let's close this. So that's about it for this tutorial. The next tutorial we're actually going to set up our Visual Basic 6.0 program and get it ready to start coding and programming, and we'll even enter some code in order to start off our medical software application. So stay tuned.